I want to go over here and talk to Dan Tyminski for a little while because Dan has not been here with us in the circle before. You've been sitting over there soaking some of this stuff up, son. I've been watching you.
This is my very first time. I couldn't be happier to be here. If, I would have bought a ticket to this if I could have.
If we'd known that, we'd have sold you one. First time I ever knew of you, and I guess most of us, you were a part of Alison Krauss's Union Station group for
indeed.
how many years?
I've been with Alison now for, I think it's going on 17 years.
So you consider yourself still as a part of that group?
We are in the studio, still at it, doing another record and getting ready to hit the road, soon as we can finish that up this year.
But you do some things on your own too, right?
I have been doing a few things on my own. I've put together a band of guys. For lack of a better name, the Dan Tyminski Band, and we've toured for a couple of years. But Union Station is still what I consider my gig.
Well, for people who don't know, and I'm sure most everybody does, the great movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which starred the Whites and some guy named George Clooney.
Thank you, Bill.
I owe Buck White one after calling him Buck Trent. I'm trying to get back on his good side.
Thanks, Jack.
Touche. Dan Tyminski is probably the only guy in the world that has ever been the voice of George Clooney. How did that all come about?
Oh, wow. The Coen Brothers wanted to get some music in this film, and they approached Alison and Union Station to come and audition to do some of the music. And at that point, they had yet to cast George's voice. They knew that Clooney was going to sing in the movie, but they wanted to get someone to do the part. And my manager just happened to mention while we were in there, auditioning for, Union Station, that I might be a candidate for that part. And they said, would you like to, try out to be George Clooney's voice? And I thought, I couldn't see it. I said, George Clooney's voice? I said, yeah, of course. And went back the next day to an audition. And it seemed to go pretty well. They were all, kind of nodding like it looked like I was going to get it. And I was very excited, of course. Called home to tell my wife that I was going to do this voiceover. And my wife, was very excited. She said, "Oh, Dan, a voiceover, that's great. What is that?" And, I explained, in this case, when you went to the theater, you'd be looking at George Clooney, up on the big screen, but you'd be hearing my voice coming out. She said, "That's my fantasy." And
That's great.
and sure enough, it all came to be, and I got to sing that song.
Had you ever sung "Man of Constant Sorrow" before?
No, I can't say that I have. I mean, I'd been familiar with the song. I know that the Stanley Brothers had a version recorded in the 50s and the 60s. I mean, they recorded it every decade, from I think the 40s or 50s on to today. Had several versions. None of them quite like the version that we had. They were very specific in how they wanted it to sound. They gave me a bunch of guidelines that of how it would be in the movie. That they said you're hungry, you just sold your soul to the devil, you just stole a chicken, and you're about to sing in a can. And if you're really singing this can well, you're going to make $50. That's like thousands of dollars today. They said, you're devil possessed, you stole a chicken, you're singing in a can, go. And I really didn't know where to go with that. And we experimented with a few different ideas and finally landed on the version that we recorded.
Did you ever get to meet George Clooney?
Indeed, yeah. I got to be in the movie and meet Clooney, and of course told him the story of what my wife said, which he thought was great. And then at a premiere in New York City, he actually went and embarrassed her on the red carpet in front of a bunch of cameras and kind of leaned over and said, "I heard what you said." And she just turned 5 shades of red and then looked at me with that look that I knew I was way in trouble. She was smiling, but I knew deep down I was like, oh boy.
What song did you audition with?
I actually auditioned with that song.
Oh, really?
But the version that I auditioned with was about 5 keys higher, much slower, much different than we ended up doing it. They said, you know, I couldn't believe I got the part because in my mind I didn't really see that my voice would have necessarily matched Clooney's, and but they could see it, and then of course, you know, George did such a great job how he lip synced it. I mean, he convinced, you know, the entire country that it was him doing it, and he never got to see any of it, you know, being recorded or anything like that. He just had a, I mean, that's why he does what he does. He's just you know, he actually wanted to sing the song. You know, I got to record the song with George. While we were doing the shoot, he at that point still kind of had it in his mind that he wanted to sing the song, maybe. So we booked a day in a studio, and I went to record with him. And Clooney can sing. He actually does have a decent voice. He can sing, and we recorded the song. Yeah, I played guitar, and he sang the song once through, and he said, "No, I need to try it one more time." And I played it again, and he sang about half of it, and he stopped, and he said, "Kick it off one more time." And I kicked it off again, and he sang like 2 lines of it, and then he stopped, and he took his headphones off, and he walked out of the studio, and he said, "You know, I'm going to make you a deal." He says, "This is a day off. How about I act, you sing?" and I got to do it.
And that's how you became a soggy bottom
That
boy.
is how my bottom got soggy, yes.